In our next high-profile story, Isaac Mazingo as Mr. Scott Griffith, the Washington High School choir director, about the success of their recent choir madrigal performance and what lies next for their vocal department. Coming up next on WHS Broadcasting.
Good afternoon. I'm Jaden Meredith with WHS Broadcasting.
And I'm Drew Walls.
Today's local story revolves around the Washington High School's annual Madrigal Dinner.
This year, we saw record-breaking numbers, having the biggest turnout in its 52-year history.
Right now, we have Isaac Mazingo with Mr. Scott Griffith to talk about this year's success.
Joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Were you surprised with the turnout this year for Madrigals?
I was not surprised. It's a 52-year tradition, and Washington has really kind of surrounded this Madrigal Dinner through all of the years, so I'm not surprised at all with the turnout.
That's great. Segueing from that, how well do you think the choir performed this year compared to other years?
I think the choir did well. It's a lot of material. You know, the choir learning 16 songs, the notes, the words, all the memorization. It's a lot of material. It's pretty heavy, so I thought the choir did pretty well.
I hear that you did a little bit some stuff different this year. What do you think the audience liked this year that they may have not seen in other years?
This year we reintroduced the dance. Before, in previous years, we did have the Renaissance dance in the show, but I really think the audience really enjoys participating in that dance, as well as, even though it's not new this year, bringing the audience up on stage during the concert portion to sing Silent Night. I think both of those elements where the audience actually gets to participate and be a part of the show, I think that's probably the most popular portion of the show.
And then my final question is, what do you think that people in our community can look forward to in the future, either this year or years ahead?
I think we can just keep looking forward to better shows and maybe more audience participation. Since it seems to be going very well and the audience is very receptive to that, I think that we can potentially introduce more interactive elements in future Madrigal Dinners with the choir.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us again. Back to you, Drew.
Thank you.
The pandemic caused a major disruption in America's labor force, something many have referred to as the Great Resignation. In 2021, more than 47 million workers quit their jobs, many of whom were in search of an improved work-life balance and flexibility, increased compensation, and a strong company culture.
A closer look at what has happened to the labor force can be better described as the Great Reshuffle, because hiring rates have outpaced quit rates since November of 2020. So many workers are quitting their jobs, but many are also getting rehired elsewhere.
During the pandemic reshuffling, jobs that require in-person attendance and traditionally have lower wages have had a more difficult time retaining workers. For example, the leisure and hospitality industry has had the highest quit rate since July 2021, consistently above 5.4%. The quit rate for the retail industry isn't far behind, with rates hovering close to 4% over the summer.
At the same time, the hiring rate has been even higher. Leisure and hospitality lost 956,000 workers in August of 2022, but 1.1 million people were hired into the industry that same month. In fact, leisure and hospitality has maintained the highest hiring rate of all industries since November of 2020, fluctuating between 7 and 9%. This is very high compared to the national hiring rate, which has hovered around 4.2%.
In the durable goods manufacturing, wholesale and retail trade, and education and health services, there is also a labor shortage. These industries have more unfilled job openings than unemployed workers with experience in their respective industries. Even if every unemployed person with the experience in the durable goods manufacturing industry were employed, the industry would only fill half of the vacant jobs.
The manufacturing industry faced a major setback after losing roughly 1.4 million jobs at the onset of the pandemic. Since then, the industry has struggled to hire entry-level and skilled workers alike.
That's all that we have time for today. Thank you for tuning into WHS Broadcasting.